Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. What a weekend. This last weekend, an incredible weekend of fights. DDP does it. He beats Adesanya. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the fight. Guys, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know the sound is great. And guys, don't forget, I just released today Cross Ashi Made Easy. Okay, leg lock, my leg lock video, the first leg lock video in the basic series. It's out. Make sure to use Level Up 50 off. The promo code is in the bottom of your screen. It's in the description. It's on the webpage when you go on there. You can't get it wrong. If you forget to put it in, you're not going to get it back. Make sure to put the promo code, guys. Make sure to use the promo code. Get my Cross Ashi heel hook, inside heel hook DVD, instructional, I should say. It's out, guys. It came out really, really good. Make sure to pick up that video. You'll become a leg lock genius. Make sure to pick it up, guys. What can I say about DDP? It's incredible how successful this man is. It's incredible how wildly successful this man is. I think that's 10 finishes in a row. Hold on a second. Not in a row, but I'm going to look up his Dricus topology. Let's look at how many finishes this man has. I think he's only he only didn't finish Strickland. That's it. Everybody else, 8 UFC wins. 8 UFC wins. The last guy he lost to was Roberto Soldic. One of my students that I trained him for that fight. Okay, he won by KO. He had previously beat Roberto, then he lost to Roberto, and then he went on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fight win streak, and every single one of them, except the Strickland fight. Oh no, excuse me. Also Brad Tavares. He didn't finish Brad Tavares. Okay, Brad Tavares and Strickland. He has finished everybody else. Isn't that incredible? Out of 10 wins, he's finished 8. What a mind blow! It's incredible. Now he finished Adesanya. That's even more incredible. Who has finished Adesanya? He's been beat by Pereira. He got TKO'd by Pereira, and okay, he lost to Strickland by decision. He lost to Blachowicz. Even Blachowicz couldn't finish him. Who else has finished him? Okay, Alex Pereira TKO'd him in a kickboxing match long time ago, and that's it. He's only ever been finished by Pereira. Highly unlikely guy to finish. Adesanya is one of the most unlikely guys you're ever going to get to tap. Duplessis, as we all know, we all heard. If you didn't see the fight, you heard about it. It's all over the place. Everybody's talking about it. He choked him. And I realized something about Duplessis. When Duplessis gets somebody down, he jumps immediately on the choke. He doesn't solidify position. You know, in jiu-jitsu, we're always taught, the old school mentality was like position, and then submission. It was like always burnt into our minds. You take the guy down, you stabilize him, and then you submit him. Well, Duplessis doesn't do that. He flies in the face of everything everybody ever told us. He took down Adesanya, if I remember correctly, in round 2. The first time he takes him down was in round 2. Now, round 1 was really tight. Some people gave it to Adesanya. Some people gave it to Dricus. I would have gave it a draw, but when I watched it live, I gave it to DDP. And then I watched it again, then I gave it to my head, I gave it to Adesanya. I was like, I can't make up my mind on round 1. On round 1, I couldn't make up my mind. Round 2, Duplessis takes him down, jumps on his neck. Adesanya escapes. Adesanya was really highly alert. He takes him down again in round 4. Guys, he puts the hooks in. As he's putting the hooks in, he doesn't camp. He doesn't stabilize position. He goes straight for the neck. He's putting a hook in. As the second hook is coming in, he's jumping out directly around the neck. I just rewatched the fight now, and I got to tell you, I got to try that tomorrow. I'm going to go in the practice room, and because usually I take the back and I control, I sit there and I kind of transition and I kind of pin and I kind of like dance around. And then eventually, as time passes by, I'll look for a sub. No. That's maybe not the right strategy. Maybe the right strategy is before you've even finished taking the back, you should put in the choke. I think that's part of DDP's recipe. He said it after the fight. He said, he's a very hard guy to hold down. I have to go right, like he was saying, he's a very hard guy to hold down. I had to get to work right away for the choke. He raced to the choke. By the time Adesanya started defending, it was too late. And the way Adesanya landed, it's like he took a little breath. He landed on all fours. He took a breath. And by the time he took a breath, it was already too late. That arm was around his neck. Adesanya is very submission aware. He's very hard to take down. He's very hard to hold down. And he's very aware of submissions. But all he did was take one breath. And then that one little breath that he took, he just wanted to catch his breath. Just one. Let me take one breath. Too late. Dricus jumps on his neck, chokes him, defends his title. What an incredible fight. Guys, round 1, I had it 50-50. Round 2, Dricus. Round 3, I had it for Adesanya. Round 4, I had Adesanya ahead. Which is crazy. Because it could have been 2-2. Because I think I'm not sure what the judges did. I didn't look at the official card, but I'm assuming. Actually, I shouldn't assume they gave it to DDP, but who did they give it to? Let me look it up. Hold on. DDP versus Adesanya official card. Guys, I'm going to talk about CGI. I watched CGI. I loved CGI. It was incredible. I'm going to give you guys my comments on that shortly. But let's talk about this fight first. Let's see, who did they give round 1 to? Where's the official scorecard? That's not the official scorecard. Let's see, who did they give? I gotta see. Okay, here it is. Who did they give round 1 to? All right. 2 judges gave it to Adesanya. All right. So look, 2 judges. One judge gave it to Dricus. Guys, if Adesanya won round 1, Dricus wins round 2. Round 3, Adesanya. Round 3 was going to Adesanya. Excuse me. Round 4, Adesanya was doing well. It was close, guys. What can I say? What a crazy fight. It came down to DDP being a double threat. He was hitting Adesanya hard. Not as often. Adesanya definitely landed more strikes. And he was always constantly threatening the takedown. And DDP is a big, strong guy. You don't want that guy on top of you. He never really pinned Adesanya on his back. Adesanya always turned to his knees, always exposed the back. Another dangerous risk. You don't want that guy on your back either. He's like a gorilla. You don't want him on top of you. You don't want him on top of you and you pinned on your back. That's not a good place to be. He'll maul you. And you don't want to risk getting to your knees because he's going to jump on your back. Like, it's just a really difficult situation to deal with. Guys, I remember when I did the pre-fight analysis last week, I told you guys DDP is going to start. And I looked at the vote in the chat room, and it was 51-49 in favor of Adesanya, if I remember correctly. And I was like, okay, we're pretty close. By the time I started going into my whole spiel, convincing you guys that I think DDP was going to win, I looked back at the scoreboard and I thought maybe I would convince you guys, to see it my way. No, you guys went the other way. You guys voted 60-40 in favor of Adesanya. As I was trying to convince you guys DDP is going to win, everybody started changing their mind, going the other way. And let me tell you something. That fight could have gone the other way. But here's why I think if they fought again, I would definitely pick DDP again. Because here's where I think Adesanya had trouble. He couldn't hurt DDP. He could bust DDP up a bit. Yeah, DDP had a bit of a bloody nose, a little bit of a black eye. He hit DDP, I think, with like 15 body shots. Uppercuts to the body. Shovel hooks to the body. Teeps to the body. He couldn't hurt DDP. He kicked DDP's leg. He kicked DDP to the body. It just never seemed like his shots ever hurt DDP. And Dricus was able... You could tell that Dricus' shots were harder. He landed less. He landed far less, I would say. But his punches were threatening. They were hurting. And you could see in round 4, he hurt Adesanya before he took him down. He hurt Adesanya, wobbled him, took him down with ease because Adesanya was not completely there. He was a little bit shaken up. And he jumped on his neck. Adesanya needed to take a short breath. It was too late. DDP is really good at jumping on the neck immediately. He's really has a different philosophy. He doesn't stabilize position. He goes for the kill. Okay, guys, with that said, let's talk about Adesanya versus Dricus. And then we'll talk about the grappling show that was CGI and ADCC last weekend. There was so much going on last weekend. It was a crazy weekend of matches. I overdosed completely. But guys, give me your thoughts and comments on this fight and this fight alone, please. Okay, here we go. We have a super chat. Guys, don't forget, I always do super chats and non-super chats, but keep it on this subject, please. Coach, please stop it. DDP was an amateur in there. That's what I'm saying, Nakfi. Zayn, how dare you? Bite your tongue. How dare you say that? Let me tell you something. You go in there and step in with Adesanya. Who stepped in there with Adesanya and walked out to tell about it? There's only two men. Pereira, actually, there's three men, but two men in that weight division. Pereira and now DDP. I think Adesanya had, man, I hate these stupid balloons. I don't know how to turn this thing off, but every time I do anything I do with my hand here, it sends balloons. Anyways, the best of the best. I think Adesanya has 9 wins in a row, if I remember correctly. 9 wins in a row in the middleweight division. He is a beast, guys. We just saw this generation, arguably this generation's best middleweight, lose. It's like, I don't think he reached the level of Anderson Silva. But he was close. He was getting there. Anderson Silva, I think, had like 14 title defenses. But Adesanya is definitely going in the Hall of Fame. He is a legend of the sport. He's one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters ever to do it. And he lost this weekend. Now, I know what you're saying. Coach, I know what you're saying. You're thinking, look, he looks so awkward. DDP looks so awkward. He looks like... Guys, I'm a big fan of DDP. I'm saying this, but he looks like a shopping cart where the wheel is like, you know, you get that shopping cart and the wheel is a bit wacky, and the wheel is like shaking and it's weird, and you're like, I can't push this thing around. That's the fastest shopping cart in the division, but the wheel is wobbling. It looks weird. I don't know why either. It works. It works for him. He's awkward. He has an awkward style. He has an awkward wrestling style. He has a different approach, and it works. I think we got to sit back, study him, and see why it works for him. It's a mystery still. But the man has figured out a way to do something nobody else has done. Well, I should say, no, actually, I don't think anybody has ever subbed Izzy. Nobody's ever done it. The guy found a way. He found the system that works. And I applaud him for that. Okay, guys, give me your comments and questions. I'm always doing a mix of super chats and non-super chats. After Izzy losing, Kamaru losing to Leon, Volk losing to Islam, and Ilya, does this speak more about Khabib and how he got out of there at the right time, whereas the others went one fight too much? That's from True Red Crime. True Red Crime, you're a very wise man. I got to give you a heart on this one. You're very right. Khabib could have gone down the same way. You know, you think they're so invincible. You think, why don't they just keep fighting, man? Nobody could beat these guys. Just keep fighting. True Red, you are so correct. There's a time and place to get out. You want to get out on top. But when you're on top, you're like, nobody can touch me. Nobody will ever touch me. That's why Khabib was very wise to listen to his father. His father wanted him to retire on top. It was a dream of his father, and he completed the dream, and he obeyed father's plan. He followed father's plan. Father is wiser than Khabib. Father is wiser, smarter. And he did like his father wanted. And I can't tell you how happy I am for Khabib retiring as champion, undefeated, storybook ending, beating the bad guy McGregor, going out on top, being the champ forever. Forever now, you can never, take that back. It's a brilliant way to end your career. Now, Anderson Silva, I think he lost to Pettis in a boxing match recently. He's addicted to fighting. He's addicted. He can't get out of that ring. It's like Roy Jones Jr. He was so great at fighting. If he retired at the right time, he might have went down as the greatest fighter of all time, the greatest boxer of all time. But he's addicted to fighting. He lost to guys you never heard of. He kept losing and losing and then fighting and then he can't get out of that ring, man. He's addicted to being in that ring. I don't know what it is about him. Like, is life too boring? I think sometimes day-to-day life is too boring. Find something else in life. Find another hobby. Find something other than the sport. There's a whole world out there. There's more to the world than just fighting. Now, I'm saying that sitting here, and I go in the gym every day and I roll twice a day, and I'm crazy. I can't get out of the gym either. But it's different being addicted to something you like. You could still do what you love. Just don't go out there and let younger guys beat the hell out of you. Don't be their punching bag. Don't stick around for so long that you're some younger guy's punching bag. And that's what I would say. And I don't think Adesanya is there. Okay. I don't think Adesanya is there. I don't think Volk is there. I don't want to say that their careers are over. No, it's far from over. But all I'm saying is there are some fighters like Roy Jones, like Anderson Silva, in my opinion. I don't know if they're doing it for the money, for the paychecks, which I doubt. I don't think Roy Jones needs the paycheck. I hope not, because of the money he made in his career, I think, you don't have to be too smart to invest it. If they're fighting for paychecks, that's kind of sad. If they're fighting just because they're addicted, that's also kind of sad. They're way past their prime and they're getting hurt in there. It's not like they're being very competitive anymore. Okay, guys, don't forget, I'm always doing non-super chats and super chats, but don't forget, we're talking only about this fight. Sam, coach, love your videos. I listen to them when I'm driving to work, and it's became my new podcast to listen to. You should put updated videos on Spotify. It would get views. That's from Yosef. Yosef, I will be doing that. It's just my Spotify guy right now. He's a bit sick. So I'm wishing him well, and I don't want to bother him, but he's gonna get back to it. He's gonna upload everything and get it to Spotify as usual. DDP beating Robert, Sean, and Izzy puts him in the top 3 in middleweight. That's from Swish. Top 3. He makes him number 1. He's number 1, man. He beat Robert Whittaker. He beat Sean Strickland. He beat Izzy. Maybe you mean middleweight history? I wouldn't go so far of that just yet. I wouldn't go so far as that. DDP stunned Adesanya with every shot he landed. Adesanya was definitely hurt. That's from Mr. Brennan 21. I wouldn't say he stunned him with every shot, but he definitely had the harder shots. He was a heavy hitter. But what's crazy is Adesanya was landing hard body shots, and DDP was eating them, walking them forward. He did look a little tired at one point, DDP. I was a little worried for him, but he took those body shots really, really well. Guys, I got a little complaint that my volume is a little low. I'm hearing in my earphones super loud and clear. Brother, where to purchase your Kimura arm? That's from Carpe Diem. Check the description. Link in the video. Check in the description if you want to buy the Kimura arm. Tony Ferguson is a great example. That's correct. Tony Ferguson, I think he's on a 6-fight loss. Guys, SOS. He needs an SOS. Tony Ferguson. He needs to come and train with me. He's got to stop doing this crazy pain equals progress workouts. He's got to come visit me. Coach, do you think John Jones is scared of Tom Aspinall? If not, why is he not trying so hard to avoid him and won't even say his name? LOL. That's from Chance Moreno. Chance, you got to understand, John has a life, he's got things he's doing, he's got a life. He's not going to go fight every single time some guy gets the belt. It's a little bit crazy. It's like people don't realize how much work and effort goes into a title fight. There's so much to do. Forget about just the training, the hype, the interviews, the appointments, the photo shoots, the press conferences. There's so much time and energy. You got to go through all these things. You got to cut the weight. You got to do, there's so much going on. He's been competing for 20 years, the guy. Every time some guy wins the belt, he's got to go beat him up, come back. Then he goes back to his life. Then he's got to get out of his comfortable life and come back and prove to you guys again. I think sometimes the public forgets. It's not like, I'm just going to step in the octagon. No. He's got to plan it. It's a whole hassle. Who's in the practice room? Where are my coaches? Like, the guy hasn't fought in a while. He won the heavyweight title. I don't think he's scared of him, that's for sure. But Tom Aspinall would be a very difficult fight, guys. I'm not telling you it would be an easy fight, but I would still pick John. Aspinall can definitely beat John, but I don't think he would. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. He's a hard hitter. He's a great grappler. He's a fantastic wrestler. He's super good on the ground. He's incredible. He's elite everywhere. I just still think John would beat him. Now, Does John have the motivation to cut out time in his life and energy to come to prove it to everybody? Maybe he just doesn't care. That's the thing. He maybe just doesn't care. Okay, guys, I see that. How do you think DDP versus Khamzat would go? Question mark. That's from Oscar. Oscar, you know what? I'll tell you something. The first 3 rounds, I see it going Khamzat's way. The last round 4 and 5, I could see DDP finding possibly a finish, because DDP is a finisher, guys. I'm convinced after seeing him finish Adesanya. I am convinced he's a finisher. He's dangerous, man. I just think Khamzat will put him down on the ground. He'll hold him. He'll pin him. He'll ride the leg. He'll get on his back. Maybe. I don't think he could finish DDP necessarily, but in round 4 and 5, the tide can turn, and who knows? That's such a crazy fight. I mean, Khamzat's also a hard hitter. Khamzat's obviously a phenomenal wrestler, great on the ground. It would be a very interesting fight, but I would think Khamzat would dominate for the first 3 rounds, and the last 2 rounds, I don't know. It all depends on what kind of shape Khamzat's in. Tom is over the front foot. Still blitzing is going to be a problem against John. That's from Slicing. Everything's going to be a problem. Because the thing is with John, he's got really good elbows, knees, kicks. He's very, he's very dynamic on his feet. And I think the things, like the way Tom Aspinall leans back, I don't think it's going to work with John. John has a very long reach. John has long legs. He has a very, very long reach. Aspinall's never seen that kind of reach. It can be very difficult. And taking John Jones down is going to be very difficult for Aspinall. So I just think John would beat him. I think Costa would KO DDP. That's from Rainbow. Rainbow, I don't think so. I think you're out to lunch. I really think you're out to lunch. Highly, highly unlikely. Salam, Mr. Zahabi. I feel like DDP won because Adesanya wasn't as good as he used to be. He lacked the ability to really hurt standing. DDP is probably as durable as hard as they can be. Technically bad. That's from Asmo. I know everybody keeps telling me that. People keep telling me that, oh, DDP is bad technically. He's bad technically. He's not. He's just awkward, guys. I know it looks so weird. The way he fights, it looks weird. But awkward fighters sometimes are the worst. There's nobody in the practice room that can mimic that style. Yes, he's awkward, but he found that way that works. You just have to kind of, I think, open your mind. You have to open your mind a little bit. There are more than one way. There's more than one way to do something. People always say, oh, it's awkward. And then all of a sudden it becomes a trend and everybody's doing it. It's not technically wrong. Okay, now I see it in the octagon. He's shifting. He's stepping like he's walking forward. And very few people teach that. But I'll tell you something. Go watch the old boxing fights. They all were shifters. The old classic black and white boxing fights. A lot of them were shifters. That's when they fought with little gloves. And the little gloves were stuffed with horsehair. Okay, horsehair is very dense. It's not a pretty glove. Okay. So there's a reason for it. I don't want to get too deep into it. But believe me, his style, it's not crazy. It's not bad. I wouldn't say it's bad. I think it's good. I think he has a very intelligent style. Coach, the McGregor era was arguably the most entertaining era of UFC. Will ever see someone like him again? That's from Sird. I'm sure they will. I'm sure. Before him we had Chael Sonnen. Maybe he wasn't as over the top as McGregor in terms of entertainment, but he had quite a mouth on him, man. He had quite a mouth. He was very witty. I would tell you guys, look up a Chael Sonnen video, Chael Sonnen trash talking highlight video. And you could see, man, he was he was good on the mic. Like, he could, look, I'll tell you something. I remember when he fought Anderson Silva for the second time, the weigh-ins, I was there. The weigh-ins was jam-packed. Everybody wanted to see Chael weigh in. And his interviews, he was like, I'm not saying he was hitting the numbers McGregor was, but, there's going to be somebody out there like that. That's for sure. Adesanya was leaning back a lot instead of using his feet. Maybe he uses it against shorter opponents, question marks. He was leaning back a lot, so I think he does that always in every fight. He loves to lean back. Thoughts on Gamrot versus Hooker, question mark. I didn't get a chance to see it. Guys, I know I didn't get a chance to see it. I heard the fight was amazing. I couldn't watch every fight because there was so much going on that weekend. I had a dinner thing, so I couldn't I couldn't watch it all. And there was CGI, which I watched, which I absolutely love. Guys, I want to talk about CGI right now. Let me tell you guys something. That was the best grappling show I have ever seen. I love the format. You get in a pit. I love the pit. I'll tell you guys why I love the pit. The walls are diagonal. If you don't engage and you back up, and I just push you up against that diagonal wall, you're going to hit the ground. I love it. It induces takedowns. If you back up, you're going to get taken down. So move forward and fight and engage. I love the pit. I can't go back to out of bounds. I can't go back to out of bounds. You reached the end of the mat, and I almost had your back, but now we're at the end of the mat. We got to stop. I can't go back, guys. All jiu-jitsu now must be taken into a pit. I can't go back to open mats. I can't. And also, cage is secondary. Cage is good. The pit is better. Why? The diagonal, guys. Why didn't we think about this before? The diagonal forces the action. You don't want to be backed up against the wall. Why? You're going to be the guy on the bottom. You're going to trip. You're going to fall. The pit is perfect. It's a perfect solution. Plus, it looks really cool. The 3 5-minute rounds was amazing. 10-point must, open scoring, pure genius. I loved it. The fights were all exciting. There wasn't one boring match. And you had $1 million prize at the end. I mean, how incredible is this? I hope they keep doing it. I hope CGI grows wings. Now, maybe they don't give out $1 million every time. I would understand, okay? Because I would love to see the fighters get paid as much as possible, of course. Don't forget, guys, they gave $10,000 for everybody who competed. Guaranteed. Plus $1 million to 2 of the winners. There was 2 divisions, 2 winners, $1 million each. What a payday. Now, if tomorrow they say, look, it's $100,000 for the winner, I'm not going to bellyache. That's still great. Okay. But it's definitely done something to shake the jiu-jitsu world. It was exciting. It was fun. Nobody was bellyaching about the decisions. I can't go back to points, guys. I hate the points. I hate the points. I hate that. I despise the points. You know what I don't like about ADCC? Is in the finals, they change the rules. Now, if you pull guard, it's a negative. There's no 5 minutes where you can pull guard. No, they change. But why do you change the rules? Because it's the final. Why? I don't understand. Like, maybe I won. I got my whole way to the final by pulling guard and subbing everybody. Imagine I was the best guard puller in the world. Now, I'm not a big fan of guard pulling. I'm not against guard pulling, but imagine you were the best guard puller in the world and you could sub everybody real quick, or you were super dominant from the guard. And then you go in overtime and you pull guard. You go into the final and you pull guard and they give you a negative. But every other step of the way in the tournament, you were not getting a negative. I don't see what the logic is about changing the rules in the finals. Personally, I don't see it. Now, with that said, I didn't get to see ADCC, okay, because I was too busy and it's behind the paywall and I'm going to wait till it comes out. CGI was free. It was crazy entertaining. And I got to watch 2 guys make $1 million. It was incredible. And I can't go back to points, guys. I just don't want to go back to points. I hate the points. Please get rid of the points. Let's make it a pit. Let's make it 3 5-minute rounds. Final is 5 5-minute rounds. I love it. I think it's the best format Jiu-Jitsu has seen so far. Guys, talk to me about what you guys think about CGI. It was 10,001 to up to up 1 up ADCC. LOL. That's from Mises. That's funny. Yeah, it was 10,001. That's right. I forgot about that. Do you think ADCC will survive? That's from Alex. Well, I think so. I hope CGI survives. I hope CGI continues. There's a lot of advertisement dollars. It could be done another way. You don't have to put things behind a paywall all the time, so hopefully some big investors say, hey, we like what you did with CGI. You guys got 1 million views. Let's pump some money behind it. It's CJI, not CGI. You're right. It's CJI. My fault. CJI. Merci. Coach, what are your thoughts on the points? That's from Banyas. I hate the points. It was amazing. Do you think diagonal walls would be better and drive action in MMA? That's from Verico. Let me tell you something. If we had diagonal walls in MMA, somebody would get really hurt badly. Because imagine you get tripped up. As you're getting tripped up, you get clocked. They do it in karate combat. So, I don't know. Have you ever seen anybody like get tripped up in the wall in karate combat and get cracked? Because I could see some serious accidents. Like, not accidents, but like really bad KOs. Here's the thing about that. You'd lose a lot of the floor seats, right? Because you can't see through. You can't see through the pit, right? So you got to have a lower attendance because the fans have to be higher up. So it would be harder maybe to do it logistically for the arenas. I'm not sure, but what if we had like a diagonal cage, like you could see through the pit? That could be something. I don't know. It would have to be something so, because I know these events, they make a lot of money with the floor seats. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to get around it, but I love the pit for grappling for sure. For MMA, it works for karate combat. It does because you don't want to go up too close to the wall. So it kind of pushes the action. Actually, it could be very interesting. I don't know. I'd have to go back and rewatch karate combat with that mindset. Was Renato Laranja a champion? Really a champion? That's from Omar. Of course, he's 14-time world champion. How dare you question the credentials of Renato Laranja? He's just a comedian. I actually met him in California. Really cool guy. Very, very cool guy. I love the Gabby Garcia Craig Jones match. That was kind of funny. And look, guys, there's no two ways about it. Craig could have subbed her in the first minute. Craig Jones could have subbed her in the first minute. He toyed around. He played around. That's why they gave Renato Laranja, 14-time world champion, the mic. And he was kind of coaching on the mic. He was kind of coaching Craig Jones, and it was quite hilarious, but it made for a funny, interesting, funny like pause in the show. It was quite hilarious. Any argument against solipsism? That's from Serd. Serd, save that for later, man. It's not time to take the gloves off. We're still talking about jiu-jitsu tournaments, CJI, and ADCC. Should Izzy retire? I don't think so. I think he's got a lot of money to make. He's got a lot of big fights, and maybe another world championship title fight for him. There's a lot of money to be made for him. So, I mean, it's up to him. If he's made enough money and he's fed up with it, maybe. But I doubt it. I saw too much fire in his eye. After the fight. He's still in there. Guys, I got to tell you that my favorite part of the whole fight is how at the end they were showing each other respect. I was really happy to see that. Two men, and I heard, there was a beef about this and that, and I was glad to see them squash it. It seemed like they really respected one another, and they were cool at the end, and they're both African and whatnot, and it's cool, and there was no animosity, and I think DDP kind of seemed to me like he apologized. I'm not sure exactly all the details of what happened, obviously, but it seems like they were cool with one another, and that was nice to see. Guys, remember, I'm only doing questions on the grappling and DDP fight. And then we're going to move along to Ask Me Anything. That's coming up shortly, guys. Let's not jump the gun. Have you ever rolled with Craig Jones or any of the OG DDS, Den Hard Death Squad? That's from Baby Lamour. Yes, I've trained with everybody from the Death Squad. Everybody. I'm a black belt from John Denahar. Craig Jones, I never got a chance to train with him, but everybody from DDS pretty much. Do you agree with Alex versus Roundtree when you obviously have Ankalev next? That's from Spice Hub. Guys, I think Ankalev could beat Pereira. So I think the UFC is kind of like saying, fight Roundtree, because Alex Ankalev is not as easy to market as you are. I think that's what it is. I don't want to say they're protecting the champ, but they're giving him an extra fight, let's say. Coach, how about that Andrew Tackett versus Rotolo match? That's from Eduardo Ars. I just rewatched it today. That was one of the best matches in the history of Jiu-Jitsu. It was incredible. Incredible, guys. If you didn't see any matches, check out Andrew Tackett versus Rotolo. Cade Rotolo. An incredible seesaw battle. Two guys who really wanted bad. And I got to tell you guys something. I could have saw it Tackett's way. I could have saw it going Tackett's way as well. That was a 50-50 fight. That was a crazy, difficult fight to call. Coach, how do you see a rematch between DDP and Strickland? That's from Adam Alniani. That's a hard one to call, but I got to tell you, I think DDP is going to take it. With his takedowns, his combinations, because I think Strickland's a little less versatile. He's a little less versatile. He doesn't kick as much. He kind of uses very limited tools, even though he does it beautifully. It's going to be more predictable. DDP is going to be less predictable, and that's going to play in his favor. Coach, the Tackett versus Rotolo shows why wrestling and top position needs to be emphasized and guard pulling penalized. That's from Chance Morano. No, I don't think you should penalize guard pulling. Ty Rotolo lost a match to a guard puller. To Levy, he got beat from a guard puller. No, you're stifling the innovation. And what if somebody finds a way? You're kind of limiting everybody's thinking here. Maybe somebody's going to find a way to win from guard all the time, consistently. A new way of doing things. Who knows? Let's be patient. Let's give the guys a chance to see. I like just stick them in the pit. Let's see who's more effective grappler, and that's it. Let's see who's the more effective grappler. That's it. Don't need to get crazy complicated with all these points. Well done, DDP, for using the right words, especially when you got asked about Poatan moving down. You said, stay in your division, and I will stay in mine. Very wise choice. DDP is only worried about one fighter. Kamzat, let's go. That's from Shiz, guys. The top G of the chat room is back. Kamzat is a tall order. And Pereira's also a tall order, guys. Pereira's going to be a tall order, but DDP could take him down, guys. DDP's got crazy takedowns. I don't know. Thoughts on the craziest upset on Marigali? That's from Holding W. I heard so much about ADCC. There was a lot of upsets. One being Marigali. Marigali lost. I haven't seen the match, but I can't wait to see it. What did you think of Levi versus Cade? That's from Verico. I thought Levi won. It was a very close match, but Levi won. Kamzat wrestling is good, but his jiu-jitsu and guard passing is overrated. That's some swish. He doesn't really need guard passing, right? He can ground and pound. He's a very good Dars. He's going to take your back. I mean, he showed a lot of aggressiveness on the ground as well. I don't think he really needs to be a guard passer. Even though it's definitely a plus if you're a guard passer. Okay, guys, I'm going to open it up to Ask Me Anything. I think it's slowed down a bit. We beat this to death. 40 minutes in. Guys, I didn't see ADCC yet, but I heard all about it, and I look forward to watching it hopefully next week or so. And I heard it was pretty wild. I heard that the fans were really into it. It was super exciting. But for me, I really love the CGI format. CJI, excuse me. How about the craziest upset from CGI? Victor Hugo, ? That's from Holding W. Was that the craziest upset? Yeah, I think it was. He got caught with a heel hook. That was an incredible upset. It was. Definitely. I'm sure Nicky Rod was like, oh, I'm going to make this million now. Because Victor Hugo is probably the toughest fight for Nicky Rod. Coach is starting one discipline, then transitioning to MMA, and then starting MMA. Coach, is starting with one discipline, then transitioning to MMA better than just starting with MMA? That's from Adam Niami. Yeah, I think so. Coach, please react to Muslim Lantern. That's from 11 Simon. I don't know what you mean. React to what? Do you think Dan Hooker would be able to beat any of the top 5 in the lightweight division? That's from Oscar. Oscar, yes, absolutely. He can definitely, especially if you beat Gamrot. And look, I told you guys, that's going to be a tall order. It's possible, but it's very difficult to beat Gamrot. If he could beat Gamrot, he can pretty much have a chance to beat anybody. So definitely, yes. And Gamrot, in my opinion, should be in the top 5. You're saying, any other top 5. Yeah, definitely. If he can beat Gamrot, he can definitely beat anybody. So that's just as hard as that's as tough as they come. Who wins fight to death? Kyla Harrison versus Mighty DJ. That's from Adam Rogers. Come on, man. You talking about DJ? Demetrius Johnson? Demetrius Johnson would maul her, man. Come on, man. Are you kidding me? There's no doubt Demetrius Johnson would do it. Who wins? Muhammad Mokayev versus Alex Pereira. That's from Holding W. Mokayev is way too small, man. He's got the size of one leg. DDP wouldn't let Khamzat smother him. He'll roll for a leg and threaten a heel hook and use it to get back up. That's from Swish. Swish really has a belief that DDP can leg lock, roll, and twist and turn in the wind and come up with a leg. I don't know if he's much of a leg locker. Anybody that thought Izzy wins doesn't understand MMA. LOL. That's from Stefano. Stefano, it's so easy to say. That's so easy to say after the fight. Do me a favor. Next time, come in the pre-fight analysis and type that away, okay? Because that was not an easy call to make. Most people picked Izzy. Izzy was the favorite. From what I understand, Izzy was the favorite. His latest video debating Christianity. That's from 11 Simon. Okay, I'll take a look. Do you prefer chicken breast or chicken thighs for training? ? Which is tastier? Thanks. Tom Flo. Which is tastier? Chicken thighs. Which one is better for training? Chicken breast. More protein, less fat. I eat a lot of chicken breast. Coach, Steelman Zionism in depth from last stream. That's from Adam Rogers. My goodness, what a gentleman and a scholar. Okay, guys, let me Steelman Zionism. What is Zionism? Okay, Zionism is a term that nobody could perfectly define. Okay, so I'm going to try to define it, but understand people don't agree on a perfect definition. Zionism is the belief that the Jewish people should have a homeland in Israel. Okay, so they say, look, that's their homeland. It's in the Bible. Everybody's read the Bible. You know they belong there. It's the whole story, the most printed book in the world. The most printed book in history is the Bible. And it starts with the Jewish story and how they got to Jerusalem, how they got to Israel. And then they were completely dispersed, the diaspora. And now we want to bring them back. Let's bring them back. And I'll tell you why. And a lot of people don't know this, but the Europeans didn't want them. They didn't want them. So they're like, hey, what do we do with them? World War II is just ended. What do we do with them? Let's send them all to Palestine. Let's let them immigrate to Palestine. Now, when they immigrated to Palestine, the British said, look, we're going to stop immigrating the Jewish people to Palestine because the Palestinians don't want it anymore. The Palestinians don't want to become a minority in their land. Okay, don't forget. What people forget, it's funny because yesterday I was listening to a debate. With Destiny and Javad. Javad is a friend of mine, Javad Hashmi. He's a scholar in Islam and Destiny. I don't know what his educational background is, but they say he's a gamer. I don't know if he has an educational background. And look, Destiny is a very smart guy, okay, but he's not a historian. Because I remember listening to Norman Finkelstein debate Benny Morris. Okay, two legendary scholars on this topic. Okay, Finkelstein, Benny Morris, they're two legendary. They've written books. They're always debating. These guys have debated each other like 50 times. Like, they write so many books on the subject. Okay, they're known as authorities in the Middle East. Okay, and you had this guy like Destiny. He's like, and don't forget, I'm still on my Steelman Zionism. Okay, you had this guy like just hammering Finkelstein, like just talking back to him, but he's so novice. He's a smart guy, Destiny. He's an intelligent guy. He's well spoken. He's an articulate person. But he's like, he made so many errors that Finkelstein had to correct him. It was just destroying the conversation because you had Benny Morris there and you had a Finkelstein. And I think a Destiny could have brought something to the table if he was more humble. If he was like, okay, well, make me understand this. Okay, then how does that go with what they said over here? Instead, he was like very rebellious, kind of telling off Finkelstein, and it was quite embarrassing. Yesterday, he was debating my friend Javad, and I was listening to it, and he was giving this obnoxious routine, where he's just like yells or like he was getting mad at Javad because Javad was using quotes. Why can't we use a quote to make a point? We're citing an authority here. Well, I use quotes all the time. What's wrong with using a quote? I'm quoting you an expert, and now we have to contend with why this expert said this. What would motivate him to say this? And we gotta put it on the table and deal with it. I wrote in a super chat, and I don't write in super chats very often. I don't listen to modern day debates too often, but I do listen to it sometimes. And my friend Javad was on it, so I was like, okay, let me listen to it. And if you watch that stream, it aired yesterday, okay? Watch the last maybe 15 minutes. You're going to see a super chat from TriStar Jim. And ask him a very simple question. Ask him a very, very... And don't forget, I'm still manning Zionism still. It's just going to make a point. I asked Destiny, hey, Destiny. I wrote a message, hey, Destiny. Who brought back the Jews to Jerusalem after they were exiled for over 500 years in the year 70? So the year 70 came down. The Romans exiled the Jews. The Jews were out for over 500 years, nearly 600 years. Who brought them back to Jerusalem? Who was it? And then I said, follow-up question. Who rescued the Jews from the Inquisition? And then they read it to Destiny. The moderator reads it to Destiny, and Destiny's like, I don't know. What year is this? He doesn't even know the year. Okay, he doesn't know the year. And he's like, I don't know. Who saved them from the Inquisition? He says, I don't know. The Christians? Oh my God. He doesn't know Jewish history. This is like basic Jewish history. Basic. I'm not a historian. I'm an MMA guy who studied philosophy. Okay, I'm very deep in philosophy, but I'm not a historian. I'm a lover of history. Okay, so I'm not a historian, guys. Please don't take anything I say as like 100% concrete. I could make mistakes when I talk about history. I'm not a historian, but I know the basics. I studied Judaism in university. I know the basics. Okay, the basics. This is basic. You don't know what happened to the Jews in the Inquisition? The Catholics were trying to annihilate them all. Your answer is Christians? The Christians were the ones trying to annihilate them. The Jews went to live in the Arab world because they had dhimmi status. And that's what he answered. Oh, because Javad kind of chuckled. Like, no, it's the Muslims that saved. Like, that's an obvious answer. And Javad had no idea I was listening. I wrote him after, texting him, saying I'm the one who sent that message in. But the whole point is this. Okay, the Arab world for many years, many years, sheltered the Jewish people. We're talking about like 800 years from the Christians who want to annihilate them. Why did the Christians want to annihilate them? Now look, I'm not saying the Christians today want to annihilate them. No, I'm not saying that. Christianity went through a period where it was less tolerant. Now today, Christianity is a very tolerant religion, and it comes down to interpretation. The Christians today have a very different interpretation than they had generations ago. Okay, So I'm not trying to lump all Christians into one category here. No, but there was a time, especially in the medieval period, Christians were far less tolerant of other religions. The Jews had a place to hide. Why? In the Islamic system, they're a dhimmi. What's a dhimmi? They pay a tax and they're protected people. We have letters of Jewish rabbis writing letters to other Jewish rabbis saying, come live with us. We're dhimmi status. They're bragging about dhimmi status. What's dhimmi status? Well, dhimmi status changed over time because Destiny was object. Oh, no, I got to be a dhimmi. I can't ride a horse. I got to be on my knees. That's not ingrained into the system. The rulers at the time define how strict they're going to be with the dhimmi status because it can be abolished, and it was abolished in Ottoman Empire. The dhimmi status, why they don't allow certain things to occur, like building temples higher than a mosque or whatnot, is so that there's not a rebellion. Okay, so if, like, for instance, now, the Israelis, they want to keep the Palestinians down. Why? They don't want Palestinians taking over. They want their own homeland. They want security. How do we go about that without being taken over ourselves? So the Jews want to say, hey, okay, we don't want the guy to suffer in a hole somewhere. But if we let him out and he starts to multiply and he has a lot of kids, he's going to take me over. So I got to push him out. So there's a dilemma. Okay, every time you conquer a land, every time you take control, anytime you're the head of the state, your biggest worry is like, hey, who wants my head now? I'm the king. I'm the top dog here. All these guys want my title. All these guys want what I have. How do I keep them from taking it from me? That's the dilemma every king, every ruler, every state has to contend with. It's a reality. So back to what I was saying. The Muslims have a history of protecting the Jewish people, mainly because for us, we don't think they killed the Christ. Okay, there's one reason why the Jews are persecuted by the Christians in the past, not today, is because they were seen as committing the greatest crime in humanity, according to the Gospels. Okay, if you read the Gospel of Matthew, read it carefully, it says the blood is on their hands and their children's hands. So it's going to go for generation and generation. In the Islamic tradition, they're exonerated. The Quran explicitly says the Jews did not kill Jesus. Explicitly. You can't say the Jews killed Jesus. Even if the Jews say it themselves. So if you read the Talmud, see, the Jews have a book, it's called the Talmud. It talks about how they stoned Jesus. They stoned him, and now he's in hell, and he's boiling in feces for eternity. That's what they say in the Talmud. He's boiling in feces for eternity. And they say his mother, she was not a virgin. She slept with a Roman soldier. That's the accusation. Now the Quran repeals that from the Jews. It says in the Quran, the Jews are boasting about killing Jesus, and the Quran says they didn't kill him. Even if they bragged that they did in their Talmud. Because don't forget, the Christians later read the Talmud and persecuted the Jews. Because, you admit you killed him. And of course, the Jews would deny it because they were scared for their lives and whatnot. But it's in their texts that they say Jesus is suffering in hell, boiling in feces. So that offends the Christians greatly. Lo and behold, the Jews lived under Muslim empire. Read David Wasserstein, a Jewish scholar, talks about the success the Jews had under the Muslim rule. He says the more the Muslims had success, the more the Jewish people had success. It always coincided. David Wasserstein says the Jews wouldn't exist. According to him, they wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the Muslim world. He says because the Muslim world took over the Roman and Persians, they connected the Jewish community because the Jewish communities now could spread between both empires. Because before, if you were a Jew living in Rome, you couldn't visit your family in Persia. You couldn't travel from one place to another. Now the whole corridor is open. It's one Muslim land, so the Jews can connect with one another. Don't forget, the Jews were smaller in number. You have to marry a Jewish person. So how many options do you have? How many times can you marry your cousin down the line? They reconnected the Jewish communities. The Muslims were very good for Judaism. Very good. Judaism, according to David Wasserstein, not me, okay, a scholar, he says, look, they wouldn't exist anymore. They would have became an underground religion. Think about that. The Arab world knows what it did. It knows it took care of the Jewish people. And then the Jewish people, once upon a time, flip, and now they're with Europe. Now Europe is saying, hey, we'll give you a homeland. Balfour Declaration. They say, look, we'll give you a homeland one day. We'll bring you to Palestine. Now the Palestinians don't want that. They don't want their homes being taken over, because for Zionism to exist, inherent in Zionism is the removal of Palestinians. So how could you be for something that's against you, that's going to take you out of your home? Now, don't forget, I'm trying to steelman Zionism here. So I see it from the Palestinian side. Now, from the Zionist side, they're saying, look, we're not safe anywhere in the world unless we're in Jerusalem, our homeland. And we need a safe haven. We need security, because look at what Europe did to us. Europe almost put us through an entire, complete Holocaust. Don't forget, the Nazis had what they call the final solution. They wanted to end every single Jew in existence, okay, which is a morbid thought. It's a horrible thought. But they estimate 6 million deaths, Jewish deaths, which is an absurd amount of deaths. Okay, it's an absurd amount. Like, the Montreal Island is 2 million people. Think about that. Think about how many people that is. The whole Quebec province is 8 million. Think about how many people that is. It's a mind-bogglingly scary number. So they're like, look, we need a place to call our own and protect ourselves and be safe. And I understand that sentiment. They want security. I don't know if Israel made Jews any safer. Einstein was against it. He's like, look, in the long run, it's a really bad idea, because think about where you're going. You're going right into the Arab world, and you're taking from the Arabs. You're not immigrating to Arabia. You're not like increasing property value. You're telling the Arabs, get out and let me in. You're dispersing them. How do you think Arabs are going to feel? Are you going to be surrounded by people who are pissed off at you? Are you going to be surrounded by people who can't wait to see your demise? Is it because the Arabs are bad, or is it because you took their home? Like, how would you feel? Like, how would you guys feel if, imagine you're in America, and we're like, hey, Texas, you guys are going to move over. You're going to scooch over here. You're going to scooch over a little bit here, because these guys believe this land belongs to them. Even though you've been there for 1,000 years, more than 1,000 years. We're going to insert them in here, and you can't do anything about it. We got the bigger guns. What do you think you would do? Well, the people in Texas would arm. They would fight. They wouldn't forget it. They wouldn't allow it. They would do exactly what every 99% of the population would do. So for me, it's really hard for me to steelman that. Like, I'm trying to figure out a way to steelman that. Like, to take somebody literally out of their home. Because I understand they need protection. But how is that getting protection? I just don't. I don't see it. I'm doing my best here, guys. I know I'm not doing a good job. I think Einstein wrote a letter, okay, because they wanted Einstein to be the first. Look this up, please, guys. Don't take my word for it. Okay, look it up. They wanted Einstein to be the first prime minister of Israel, and he refused. And he wrote a letter, and he explained that I'm gonna have to say things that the Jewish people don't want to hear. Meaning, like, if you read between the lines, like, it's a bad idea. We're safer spread out. We're safer in America. We're safer being in pockets of Europe, pockets of Africa, like, we're better spread out than we are in one place, and I'm surrounded by people we pissed off. I think ultimately today Israel is doing fairly well, but because they're a military base for the US, that's their big ace in the game. That's their big ace. Like, the America supports them heavily financially, militarily. But I think that's going to grow old. Like, how long is that going to last? 20 years, 10 years, 2 years, 5 years? The second America doesn't need them anymore. The second they don't need them. The second they don't see that it's viable, they're gone. They pull the plug. You know, experts estimate, like, Israel couldn't maintain a war. It wouldn't take 5 months. They would run out of ammunition. They would run out of ability to fight. Just against the surrounding Arabs they have now. Imagine the Arabs they have 10, 20 years from now. The technology. The Arabs are quickly coming up in technology. Quickly. Very quickly. I'm trying to steelman this, but I just don't know how this was a good idea. let's move one people, people that's known to fight forever. They will never give up. The Palestinians will never give up. The Arab nations will never give up. You could try to subjugate them. You could try to annihilate them. There's 2 billion Arabs. It's not 2 billion Arabs, but there's 2 billion Muslims in the world. It is a very difficult thing to do. Like, I just don't see it as, I have to agree with Einstein. I don't think it was the right way to insert themselves in the Middle East. I think the correct way would be to slowly immigrate over time, find their land, remind the Muslims that they belong there, and they would. And the Muslims will welcome them in certain numbers. They would. The English actually tried to, they wrote something called the White Paper. They wanted to keep the Jews in as a minority and allow the Jews and Arabs to rule, but the Jews would be a minority. I think that was a good first step. Coming in, blowing up the doors, I think created, look, this decades of bloodbath, decades and decades of war. So look, I did my best to steelman it. I just don't know how. If anybody in there in the chat room can do it, it would be great. Sadly, after the ruins of the Ottoman Empire, Palestine were able to secure their land. The Zionists was backed by the dominant empire. Europe was trying to survive the U.S. hegemony. That's from Asmo. Yeah, well, I think the British, they lost control of the Zionist project. They wanted to limit the Zionist project. They gave them the Balfour Declaration, and then they gave them the White Paper. The Balfour Declaration was like, one day we're going to give you your own state. Then the White Paper is like, hey, we're going to limit you. We're going to let the Arabs and you guys rule, but you're going to be a minority. So meaning the Arabs always have the upper hand. The Arabs wanted to limit them. The English accepted because, hey, that's your homeland. That's where you guys come from. You guys have been there forever. It was a good first step, but the Zionists started to fight. They started to create, they bombed the King David Hotel. They started attacking and massacring. They started arming themselves, and they went to war, basically. And they were saying, look, we're going to take it. Nobody's going to give it to us. We're going to take it. Coach, it's 2 hours and 59 minutes of Destiny debate. Your question, he said he doesn't know who allowed Jews back in, and when he was told it was a Muslim, he asked how many Jews were forced to convert to Islam. That's some true red crime. That's right. He's like, okay, how many of them had to force? Okay, here's another mind-blowing thing he didn't know. Guys, listen, I went to university. I used to take history and religion courses, okay? And they talked, I remember my professor once saying Islam was a tolerant religion. He was lecturing how Islam's a tolerant religion, and people were like in the classroom. We're like, no, objecting, that's not true. And then it was like, okay, find me a source, Find me a source that it's not a tolerant religion. By and large, okay, because don't forget, there's something called a historian's fallacy. Whenever you look at something in history, they teach you it's always context. You can't look at history and compare it to what we do today, okay? Because times have changed. There's a zeitgeist, a spirit of the times. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but look, every historical era has a kind of like culture. If I tell you something they used to do, like, I don't know, 200 years ago, I'm like, oh, that's weird. They're really weird people. No, for them, it was completely normal. And you got to get in their heads. That's what history is about. Getting in people's heads, understanding how Romans lived, understanding how Persians lived, understanding how the ancient world was. What was it like their day to day? What were they concerned about? What was interesting to them? What did they love? What did they hate? What did they aspire to do? You really have to have all that context to really understand an era. So we had these debates because, of course, it was after 9/11 when I was still in university, and people were like thinking, oh no, like these guys wanted to just destroy the whole world. Completely wrong. Muslims never did forced conversions. When there was forced conversions, it was an exception. The vast majority of Islamic spreading of Islam never forced conversion. It's haram. It's forbidden for Muslims to force people to convert. It's forbidden. Now, I won't say we didn't have our wackos. We all have our wackos. Every group has their wackos, okay? And we're just as embarrassed as you guys. Whoever is listening to this, if you have your wacko, of course you have your wackos. Everybody's got their nutcases, okay? We're embarrassed about them too. Believe me, we cringe when we see them too. We want them to go away also, but they're there, okay? The norm isn't the exception. There was no mass conversions. Christianity had mass conversions, yes. Guys, yes. And I'm not saying Christianity is an authoritative religion. It's not. But it went through a period of forced conversions. Not only did the Christians force people to convert, when they conquered Spain from the Muslim world, they took the Muslim children. They dispersed and murdered the men, but they kept the children. They converted the children to Christianity. Imagine somebody takes your kid from you. Because why? They need population. In Christianity, there were major periods of forced conversions, not in Islam. How does he not know this? He's constantly talking about the Middle East. How does he not know this? Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. Every historian knows that Islam, when it spread, they had dhimmi status. You could be a protected peoples. You pay a jizya, you pay a small tax, less than the Muslims even. Most of the time it was less than the Muslims, what the Muslims have to pay. And you're protected. You don't have to fight in war. You're a protected citizen. You have your rights now. Don't break the law and you have your rights. You're a full-fledged citizen. Look, it's insane how much there is to know. Nobody knows everything, but sometimes there are things that are so basic, man. You got to know. If you're going to criticize the peoples, you got to know at least a little bit about them. Many people commit the fallacy of presentism. That's from Lone Wolf J. Yeah, it also goes by that word, presentism, or I like to use the historian's fallacy. What's really bothering me is that we don't really know what Israel is planning for Gaza. There is a huge difference between what they say and actually do. That's scary. That's from Amsuo FR. Look, I'll tell you what their plan is. I don't want to say I read their thoughts, but it's to destroy it. How do I know that? Because Gaza, guys, I hate to say it, it's destroyed. It will take over 50 years just to remove the rubble. And I'm giving you a very conservative estimate. It might take 100 years. Are you guys listening to me? It might take 100 years just to remove the rubble. Now, of course, they're going to build sections back at a time, hopefully. But the point was this. They wanted to destroy Gaza. It wasn't about getting rid of Hamas. You can't get rid of Hamas. Hamas is an ideology. I remember early in the war, Elon Musk, what he was saying was like, every time you kill one Hamas, you created 5. Oh, he was so pro don't bomb Palestine. Now he's like, hey, kill them all. Pretty much. He's the most Zionist figure there is right now. How did he flip? What flipped him? What do they have on Mr. Musk? What do they have on him? I think they have something on him. Who knows? Because I'll tell you something. He changed his tune. He went to Israel and came back a different man. Completely changed man. First, he was saying this is not the right strategy. You're bombing, you're killing one Hamas, you're killing 5 more, which is completely correct. It's not about killing Hamas. Even Gallant says this is not a way to get rid of Hamas. We can't get rid of Hamas like this. Their goal, and they stated it. I'm not a mind reader. They stated it. We're going to make Gaza unlivable. So these Arabs are going to have to leave. It's sad to say, but they want to ethnically cleanse Palestine. Coach, why do you believe the Quran is the word of God? It's because it corresponds to your innate knowledge of one God. That's from True Red. True Red, yes and more. Okay, yes and more. It does. I believe Islam is a natural religion. It's an innate religion. That's what the Quran tells you. It says, go back to your innate religion. Discover your innate religion. And it's a revealed religion as well. Okay, it's both simultaneously. So yes. Elon's mother maiden name is Handelman, a Jewish name. Put 2 and 2 together. That's from Iraq. Well, even if he is Jewish, okay, they wouldn't say. If I was Jewish, I would still say don't bomb the Palestinians. It's not the correct way to go. I don't think Judaism is about bombing and killing innocent people. I think it's the complete opposite. I think Judaism is about morality, how to be a good person. That's what I think Judaism is about. This is a bad example of Judaism, okay? And Muslims, when they give a bad example of Islam, I tell them straight up, 9/11 was a bad example of Islam. That's not what Islam's about. Maimonides say Islam was to convert pagans to one God. That's from Adam Rogers. Well, here's the thing. Here's what a lot of people don't know. A lot of Jewish scholars accept Islam, but they say Islam is for the non-Jew. The Jew has a special covenant with God, so we believe in one God. The Jewish people have to keep that Sharia, okay, that way of life, forever. And our brothers, Ishmael's descendants, that's Muhammad alayhi salam. Okay, so don't forget Abraham. You have Abraham, then Abraham has two sons, Isaac and Ishmael. Isaac is the father of the Jews. Ishmael is the father of the Muslims. So they accept us. They say, look, like the Bible prophesied, because in their Bible it says that Adam's son, Ishmael, on this side, he's going to have descendants like the stars. What descendants do you know? What great nation is there from the Middle East? Well, there's only one. It's Islam. So you have the Christianity, and then you have, because where Abraham leaves his son is basically Saudi Arabia. He leaves him out in the desert, and it says, okay, don't worry about him. Don't fret. He's going to be a great nation. From that area, where that area he left his son, we have the story of Mecca. So we're the only great nation ever to arise from there. They say, look, see, the prophecy is true. That's our cousin. That's our cousin. They call us their cousin. And he's for the Gentile. He's teaching them one God. Because don't forget, the Jews will accept us as following the same God as them. They say, oh, that's one God. They won't accept Christianity's God, because they say the triune God or the Trinity is a idolatry. So they reject Trinity. Both sides, Muslims and Jew, we reject Trinity. The Christians say, no, God has revealed himself. There's more to the oneness. He's three in one, etc. Three persons in one in being, but three in persons. They have, they debate amongst themselves also as well of what it means to be a Trinity exactly, but they believe there's a threeness. Okay, usually they say it's three persons. Now, that's why they don't say that, oh, look, our Christian brothers are spreading monotheism. No, they reject that. Okay. They are allowed to pray in mosque. That's from RF. Yes, they're allowed to pray in mosque. Jews will pray in mosque. Muslims will, let's say, they're renovating their temple, whatnot. Yeah, they can use our mosque. It's not a problem. Coach, I hate these Islam versus Christianity debates. They're so muddy, and they just ego versus ego. Our job isn't to convince non-Muslims. It's just to tell them the message and leave them to be. That's from True Red. Look, I saw recently the Shamoon and two Muslims, the one on Fresh and Fit. I'll tell you something. Jay Dyer, one of the Christian guys, I think he was polite. He was very respectful. He was professional. I don't have a problem with him. It's the other guy, Shamoon. He's such... Oh my God, the guy's so backwards. It's crazy how backwards he is. He has no... man, okay. He's so bad. His arguments are so bad that it's almost impossible to make people understand how bad it is, because he's muddied the waters so badly. Okay, I'll give you for instance. Okay, he was saying, look, because they were debating the Trinity, and he's trying to say, look, Islam has a Trinity too. Islam believes in multiple gods. Okay, how so? Tell us, because when we read our book, it doesn't say any of that. How do you see that? He says, well, in your tradition, it says the Quran is going to intercede with you. The Quran is going to intercede with you. The Quran is eternal, because in Islam, Muslims believe the Quran is eternal, and it's going to intercede. It's eternal, and it's going to intercede. If it's going to intercede, it must have a mind. Whoa, wait a second. You just made an assumption. Nowhere in the Quran or in the tradition does it say the Quran has a mind. It never says that. It says, okay, Muslims say the Quran is eternal. Yeah, I'll give them that. Okay, it's eternal. But it never says the Quran has a mind. He says, well, if it intercedes with you, it has to have a mind. Therefore, it's eternal, it has a mind. It's another God. You have Allah, you have God, and then you have the Quran. It's also another deity. Now, let me tell you guys something. That's completely preposterous. He's making what we call a faulty assumption. He's assuming something not written in the text. Now, he's free to assume that, but we don't assume it. None of the scholars assume it. None of the Orientalists, scholars who are non-Muslim, who study Islam, get a PhD in Islam, nobody ever wrote a book saying, hey, we just found another deity in Islam. It's a completely preposterous thing that he made up. And he's like, well, you see, you have two gods. Now, God also has a hand, so that's a third God. But he doesn't understand that would apply to his book as well. So, for instance, They say there's the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. There's also another character in the Bible. If you guys have ever read the Bible, Melchizedek. Melchizedek, they say, has no father, no mother, and is eternal. So he's a mysterious figure in the Bible. They say he's not Jesus because Jesus had a mother. And other verses say he's like Jesus, so meaning he's not Jesus, he's like Jesus. So he has no mother, no father. So if you have no mother, you can't be Christ, right? Because Christ had a mother. And he's eternal, and he obviously has a mind because he dialogues with Abraham and all that. So why don't you add him to the Godhead? If I used your same standard that you just did with Islam and we projected on your books, you would have to say, no, it's not a triune God. There's also a fourth God. And also the Bible says God has a hand. Jesus is at the right hand of God. Well, if God has a hand, then that's another deity, because he tries to claim that because Islam, the Quran says God has a hand, that it's another deity. He makes so many blunders like that, but then he goes into preaching mode. It's like, Jesus is alive, Muhammad is dead, and he just kind of preaches. So he goes into a faulty argument, and then he preaches on top of it. So his Christian followers are gonna be like, yeah, we won, we're so good, we're so right. It's like, dude, if that was a paper you wrote, you would get an F. That's the crazy thing. Like, and from what I understand, the guy's a high school dropout. He's never went to school. But imagine you wrote a paper. I don't know I'm sure a lot of people listening to this channel, you've been to university. Like, imagine you write a paper and you write something non sequitur. You write something that doesn't make sense. You write something, well, because the Quran intercedes, it must have a mind. Well, my cell phone intercedes with me every morning. It rings. I'm sleeping. It intercedes with my sleep because it rings. Does my cell phone have a mind? How do you know the cell phone has a mind? Like, where did you get that? Because it intercedes? My phone tells me about my schedule, when I have a flight, when I have an appointment. It intercedes with my day. It gives me information. Does my phone have a mind? No, it doesn't. Intercession doesn't entail mind. It could be something that's a chain reaction. Because the thing is, in the Islamic tradition, I have to recheck this, but it's not the Quran that intercedes. It's your recitation of the Quran that intercedes. Or the Quran you read in this life intercedes for you as a symbol. It's not that it has a mind and it's its own deity. That's preposterous. He made a jump. He made a faulty assumption. But trying to explain that to him, it's very difficult, because one, he doesn't want to know. He doesn't want to know. He just wants to preach. He wants to kind of like say something that kind of makes sense to him, and then say Jesus is Lord. Come back, repent. That's what he does during the debate. He starts preaching. So he'll be like, repent from your sins. Your God is a devil. No. He goes in preacher mode. But that, you can't do that in debate. If you do that in debate, the moderator is supposed to step in, but the moderator is not saying anything. And it's like, imagine you wrote that in a paper, academic paper. Dear professor, this and this and this, therefore this is your God, and therefore you should repent, come back to Jesus. Let me tell you something. The professor would directly fail you. 100%. That's completely unacademic. But if the people listening are of that mindset, they're going to like it. They're going to enjoy it. He said so many dumb things. I'm trying to remember, like, what else he said that was so dumb. It was so bad, man. It was so bad. It was such a bad argument. But then he goes into preacher mode. Oh, hallelujah, God, Jesus this, Jesus. It's like, what, man? Like, he's just in a preacher mode. If I was the moderator, I would have been like, look, you can't preach. You can make your argument, give them a chance to rebuttal, but no preaching. Because he keeps saying, oh, your God is a devil. Your God is this. Like, he's just insulting other people's religion. That's the thing. That's why I don't like it. Because the thing is, it's like, if I was a Christian, I would be embarrassed. Honestly. If the Muslim guy starts insulting, and that's the thing. Then the Muslims guys started insulting him back. And it's like, okay, now we're insulting each other. Now, like, we're supposed to be religious guys and we're insulting each other. It's like we turned this into the Maury show. Oh, I believe in God and I pray and I try not to sin. And then I'm on the Maury show all of a sudden. I'm cursing, he's cursing me. And we're looking like the worst of the worst, you know. So it's just so despicable. It's just not a good environment. It's not a good person to dialogue with. He's not there to learn and share and try to understand the other. That's why I have high respect for guys like James White. James White will debate, but he'll do it in a respectful way. And Jay Dyer, from what I saw, he was respectful. Hello from your first ever student, Gregory Anderson. What are your thoughts on the Sunni Shia split? Gregory Anderson, that's a deep question, man. Look, I think it's very political. A lot of people are going to say it's religion. I think it was, politically charged. Excuse me. And the fact that Ali radiallahu anhu, he gave the bay'ah, he accepted to follow the Muslims, the Khalifa, shows that if you're a real Shia, you'll follow Ali, you'll follow his lead, you'll stop this separation. Because, there was a rift, a political rift. But Ali, he went with the Sunni side. He wrote a letter, he gave the bay'ah, he accepted the Sunni side. So if you're a true follower of Ali, you would follow Ali. What did Ali do? He followed Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. He followed Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. That's what you would do if you're a true Shia. Please watch Professor Dave react to Muslim creationists. That's from Adam Rogers. Okay, I will definitely try that. Let me see. Maybe not now, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Is Professor Dave actually a professor? I'll save this. Okay. I'll save it and watch it. And I'll get back to you. But I want to know, is he actually a professor? I'm not sure. I think debates can be good if it's done in a formal setting with a real moderator and they don't insult each other. I'm for debate. I think debating is good. But I don't think you should debate guys who are like trolls, because at the end of the day, Sam Shamouni's a troll. He's all about clicks. He needs to get clicks. So he's going to spew things that get more views. I think those guys, you should shut them out. It should be academic, should be done with respect, and it's doable. Guys, we see all sorts of debates all the time. There's lots of debates. I just don't think we should mix religion and the Jerry Springer show. I think that's you got to stay away from that because it's going to make religion a mockery. You got to stay away from that. Insulting can become very tempting, especially once you're insulted. I get it. I totally get it. And I'm not saying I would do any better. I'll probably get pissed off too and tell the guy off. But you want to avoid that from the beginning. But like, oh, this guy, no, he doesn't have respect. He's a troll. I'll talk about anything, but not religion. Don't talk about religion with trolls. We got to keep something in the world sacred. Something. We can't make everything we can't take everything on the Maury show, Jerry Springer show. I think it's just like, we gotta keep to keep human beings at least sane. Jay Dyer isn't respectful. He pretends BTW, young girl. Well, in that debate, he didn't say anything negative. He gave his arguments. I think he was embarrassed by Sam Shamoun's because Sam Shamoun's arguments were so bad. I think he kept a tight lip because he didn't want to disagree with Sam because he's like his partner in the argument, in the debate side. But I think he was a bit embarrassed by Sam's claims. Jay Dyer is a full weed addict. That's from Joey Paisano. Well, I don't know anything about that. Coach, have you ever tried getting back on Twitter? Your voice would be amazing to have in the public sphere. No, they banned me for life. It says I'm banned for life. I don't even know why. Jay believes that Sam is a heretic and said they disagree on the Trinity and other Christian beliefs. That's from You're a Girl. Yeah, I know. I've seen that. Because one is Catholic and one is Orthodox. So they both believe each other are heretics. Missed my super chat. Izzy is slowing down. His punches didn't have his usual snap. That's from Ricardo. You might be right. He did look like he couldn't hurt. I noticed that too. He couldn't hurt. But is it because it's DDP? Is DDP just really hard to hurt? Because he did land a lot of body shots. He did land a lot of teeps to the body. He did land a lot of nice kicks. But you're right. It didn't seem like he could hurt DDP. But I'm not sure if it's because DDP is a brick house or maybe Adesanya is losing some power. It's something to think about. We'll see. Maybe in their next fights, we'll have a clearer picture. Even the Bible says don't get drunk. In the state of drunkenness, that's forbidden. That's from Zain Nakfi. Yeah, you're not supposed to get drunk. Please, when will you do another video reaction stream? That's from Adam Rogers. What's for what? For like a debate? Guys, put me in the comment section which debate or reaction video you'd like me to do a stream on. I'm due because I remember I said I would do another one. So yes, you're right. I did the last time I did Harris versus Peterson. Guys, put in the comment section any debate you'd want me to go over. Will be great. DDP was eating shots that most people would have taken most people out. That's from 7-6. We'll have to see at Adesanya's next fight. Is he losing power in his shots, or is he just hitting DDP, and DDP can take anything? Biblical prophecy about the coming of Muhammad, peace be upon him, here. John 6:16, 12, 14. Well, I'd have to open up a Bible and check that out, but I'm not going to do that now. I'd have to research it. That's complicated. Is he slowing down? Okay, I did that one. What do you think of overcoming isometrics when you push or pull against something that doesn't move? That's from Muhammad. Muhammad, I'll tell you something. I've experimented with isometrics. I think they're important. I've seen Christopher Summer. Check out Christopher Summer's Olympic body, but he does it with young kids. He does a lot of isometrics with young kids, and he builds incredible strength. He builds these incredibly strong gymnasts. I haven't been able to replicate it. I've tried a lot of isometrics for years. I couldn't get much stronger, but maybe it's because I started too late. I started late in my late 20s. He starts them off when they're very, very young, and they get incredibly strong. It's shocking. Coach, in Islam, is alcohol allowed? Question mark. Can you Muslims drink and party hard? Question mark. There's any little bit of confusion in the world. What's the truth? That's from Shiz. No, we're not allowed to drink and party hard. Okay, no, there's no hardcore drinking. Shiz, sorry to disappoint you, man. But we were allowed 4 wives, Shiz. So that's the plus. You know, you put away the drinks and you're allowed 4 wives. So I don't know if that balances out for you. Yes, Coach. Jay Dwyer did a debate with Muslim Lantern yesterday, and it was extremely disrespectful. That's from Johnny. Well, that's sad to hear. I don't know how you can act like a troll, insult people, curse people, and then say, oh, I'm a religious person. I study the Bible or I study the Quran. I don't find it doesn't mix. You know, you're supposed to have good manners. You're supposed to be friendly. Your whole religion is about being good. So why are you so bad? Why are you such a troll? Why are you so insulting? Why are you so angry? Why are you so frustrated? Does your religion suppress you? Does it make you so angry and frustrated? Like, it's just a bad mix. You said previously that God is above logic, which with that, why couldn't God come down as a man like Jesus? Question mark. I don't believe this. Just wondering how you'd answer. That's from True Red. True Red, I'll tell you something. I don't put any limitations on God. Like, for instance, people say a Trinity is logically impossible. I don't put anything above God. So for me, if God wanted to be a triune God, he can do it. If God didn't want to exist, he can do it. I don't believe there's any thing that God can't do. Can God make a rock so heavy even he can't lift it? My answer to you is yes. So you'll never hear me say that it's impossible for God to be a Trinity. You'll never hear me say that. What I will tell you is the Trinity doesn't make sense, because when you ask them, why do you believe a Trinity? Because you have to prove the Trinity. You're the one making the claim. Their arguments for why they believe in a Trinity, that doesn't make sense. I'm not saying it's logically impossible. What I'm saying is God created logic, and he gave us logic to weigh the world. to know the world around us. And that logic points us into one God. So I believe that logic points us into one God. So if you never heard anything about the Quran, the Bible, you would figure out just on your own, just by studying the world, just by looking around. If you are a wise man and you meditated and you thought about the world around you and you focused on what is existence, etc., you would come out to the belief in one God. You would actually have a personal experience of one God. There's no way to reason back to the Trinity. It's impossible. So I believe God gave us reason and made it impossible for us to reason back to the Trinity. He made it only possible for one possible answer. Now, I'll give you a great, for instance, okay, the greatest Christian minds in history, the greatest thinking Christian ever. We're going to debate about this, but one of them is Sir Isaac Newton. Okay, there's no doubt about it. He was feverishly Christian and he was an incredible genius. He reasons back to one God. He says the Trinity is a perversion of the church. Now, he could be wrong. Okay? And the Christians are going to be like, oh, he could be wrong. He's wrong. It's an appeal to authority. I'm just telling you that the greatest thinkers thought about it. And they said, look, this can't be. And Descartes, in his meditations, he goes really hard into trying to prove there's God. Okay, like he goes really, really hard. And his book is really, really deep. I think most people, if they read it, they won't understand it. But he was able to reason back to one God, but never a Trinity. And don't forget, he was a Christian. He's like, okay, here are my proofs for God. And he goes deep into explaining why he believes in God. He puts everything into question. It's one of the most life-changing books, okay, the Meditations on First Philosophy by René Descartes. It's an incredible book. He uses extreme logic. Extreme. Now, this is a very, very highly debated book, of course. I think most people misunderstand him. It's insane how most people read it and get it wrong. So they think, oh, he's wrong on this, and he's actually right, but people get it wrong. He can reason back to God, yes, but he can only reason back to one God. Socrates was only able to reason back to one God, never a trinity, never to a plurality of gods. And I think that's how we were designed. But I think God created logic. And when you try to apply logic on God, you get a paradox. It always comes back at you. It always comes back at you. You cannot use logic to encompass God. So that's my answer to you. It's not that I don't think God can be a Trinity. If God wants to be a Trinity, if God wants to be a man, God could do anything. It just, the reasons why they say Jesus is God doesn't make sense. So in the gospel, Jesus says to his disciples, I and you are one, just like I and the Father are one. Well, I could extrapolate from that. I could say, well, like the Mormons say, if Jesus is one with the Father and Father and him are God, and the disciples are one with Jesus, that makes us one with God. They extrapolate that also. They say, look, we could all be gods. That's what the Mormons say. Why do the Trinitarians cut it? No. When Jesus said that to the disciples, it was figurative. When he said about him and the Father, it was literal. Well, it doesn't say that in the text. You have to interpret it. You have to make that distinction. Now, Jesus says to Peter in the Gospel of John, because he says to him, I'm going to the cross, I'm going to be crucified. And Peter says, no, I can't allow that. And Jesus rebukes him and he says, get behind me, Satan. Like, he calls Peter Satan. Now, I could extrapolate from that. I'm not. I'm just trying to show, like, I could say, well, isn't Peter Satan now? Wasn't he the guy? Is he the guy in the Garden of Eden who tempted Eve? Is that Satan, Peter? He's one of the disciples? How does that make sense? People are going to be like, no. He was just succumbed by the temptation of Christ. The temptation of Satan to question Christ. That's what they're going to interpret it as, right? So there's always an interpretation. Their interpretation for saying that Jesus is God himself, in my opinion, flies in the face of what the Old Testament says. To never do such a thing. To never worship any man as a God. And in my opinion, it's all later works. Because don't forget, the Gospels are also anonymous. They were written much later. And don't forget, the Gospels were heavily influenced. Scholars say they were heavily influenced by Paul. And Paul was like hell-bent on converting the non-Jew. He wanted to convert the non-Jew, the Romans. He really wanted the Romans to adopt Christianity. So for them, Taking a man as a god was the norm. Because don't forget this, okay? Don't ever forget this. Caesar called himself the Son of God. This is before Christ. We have coins. We have coins from that era, from Jesus' time, that says Caesar, Son of God. So when you say somebody's a son of God, you're saying he's the ruler. He's the king. You're saying he's the man. We follow him. So a lot of the Christian followers might be saying, no, not Caesar's the Son of God. Jesus is the Son of God, meaning not literal, meaning he's our ruler. That could have gotten conflated. There's so many theories. That's the thing. It's not concrete. So why would you take something that's not concrete and found your religion on it? That's what I find to be highly dubious, because all their sources are highly, highly dubious. There is no God. Look at Gaza. Shake my head. That's from Tuxedo Mask. Well, that's what we call defeatism. Oh, life is so tough. Life is so difficult. I quit. God must have abandoned us. I don't agree. I think that when you look at something like that, you shouldn't shake in your boots. You should believe. You know what? I can think the complete opposite. That's the thing. Tuxedo Mask. You think, oh, there's no God. Look at all this evil. I think, oh, you see all this evil? I'm gonna forget about it one day. It's going to be nothing. When I see God, I'm going to forget about all this. This is nothing for what this life is nothing. You see this little piece of dust I found here on my desk? That's what this life is. It's nothing. Nothing. It's going to be nothing. It's going to be a vague memory. Just like when you were a little kid and you spilled milk and you cried about it. Today, if I remind you about it, you're like, I forgot about that. It's not, yeah, but when you were a kid and your favorite toy broke, or you didn't get something you wanted, for you it was like the end of the world and you threw a tantrum. I know I don't want to liken death and more what's going on in the Middle East to that, but in a sense there is a link. Because if you really believe life is eternal and you live forever, this is just a flash in the pan. It's nothing. And that's the mentality I like to take. When I see something negative, when I go through a hard time, I tell myself it's nothing. Not that I would say that to Palestine. Of course, I would sympathize with them. I would care for them. But in my heart of hearts, I know we will get through it. I know there'll be another chapter. For me, when I'm dead, it's not over. If my enemies kill me, it's not over. I'm waiting for them on the other side, my friend. When they die, they're gonna be like, oh, that guy we killed a long time ago, he's still here. Yes, son, I'm still here. I was waiting for you. And look at everything I prepped for you. That's the kind of mentality I have. Do you Muslims shave mustaches? Don't you? Story of it. Adam Rogers. Look, the Romans, they shaved all this and kept the mustache. Us, we do the opposite. We grow this and trim the mustache just to differentiate ourselves from them. I think that's where the sunnah originated. Namaste, coach. I have my first boxing tournament tomorrow. I feel like I'm not prepared. Damn. My fitness levels are really low because of a knee injury, and I'm afraid I might get KO. That's from Parek Sharma. Correct. You should also go to sleep, man. It's tight. It's 12:25 a.m. here. I don't know what time zone you're in. Listen, if you have a doubt, man, pull out. Go back to training. Do it right. Sounds too good to be true. Sounds like a cope. That's from Tuxedo Mask. Tuxedo Mask, I'll be waiting for you. Okay? I'm going to remind you of your little text. I'm taking a little mental note of Tuxedo Mode. Tuxedo Mask. Coach, I don't think I agree with your claim on the stone that God can't carry. My answer is no. But no, because it's just not possible for us to be for this to be true. We have 99 attributes of God's. We know him. Coach, I don't think I agree with your claim on the stone that God can't carry. I didn't say God can't carry. I said God can. Listen, when I'm saying God has no limitations, it's only our view of logic, our understanding, our limited level of understanding that thinks we create these paradoxes. But the question is also self-contradictory. So some people say that, oh, the question is impossible. I just think God can do anything. He can make a rock so heavy, even he can't lift it, and simultaneously he can lift it. All possibilities are true to God, always. Even if they seem contradictory to us. Salam Coach, did you see Vladimir Putin dropping knowledge about World War III? That's from Charles Biddle. Charles, I haven't, to my recollection, we haven't gone through World War III, so I don't know how he's dropping knowledge. Is he making threats, you mean? I'll look that up because I didn't hear anything about Putin talking about World War III. Coach, is philosophy not prohibited in Islam? Question mark. That's from 070. No, it's not. It's a huge misunderstanding. I'm not going to go over it again because I've done it many times in the past. God created certain laws of logic. God would not do something that contradicts his attribute. That's from RF verse. So how do you deal with the paradox? Can God make a rock so heavy even he can't lift it? If he can make a rock so heavy even he can't lift it, then he can't lift it. He's limited. And if he can't make a rock that heavy, then he's not omnipotent. So how do you deal with it? The Quran says Jesus wasn't crucified. Why would I believe a book 500 years after the Gospels from eyewitnesses? That's from Patty Cake Patty. So this is a common question. Look, the Quran comes 600 years after Christ, about 100 years after the Gospels. It's later. So why would if the Quran says something that contradicts the Bible about the crucifixion, why would we take something that came 500 years later? Well, here's number one thing, Patty. First of all, it's revelation. So we're not saying that the Christians are still talking about it and they changed their mind. That's not what we're saying. We're saying, one, it's coming from God. It's a revelation. So it doesn't matter what year it comes in. And second of all, the claim of crucifixion is written down by people who are not there. Don't forget, the Bible says they forsook him and fled. Now, the Gospel of John says there was a beloved apostle there. But the Gospel of John is 100 years later. And don't forget, all the Gospels are anonymous. All of them. There's so much to know about the Gospels, but here's the thing. There was 50 other Gospels. They estimate about 50 other Gospels, other point of views, and they vary very much in their stories. And we know of the existence of these Gospels because people wrote about them. People talked about them. They dialogued about them. There was around 50 other point of views. Why did these 4 Gospels make it? Well, they say it has a lot to do with Paul. Because those Gospels that agreed with what Paul said. Because Paul was heavily influential. Now, Paul wasn't at the crucifixion. Paul never met Jesus in the flesh. He had a vision. So now we're talking about revelation again. It also stems on revelation. Now, here's the other thing is, why do historians accept that Jesus was crucified? Let me tell you why, okay? You got to think about the name Jesus as the name Joe. 25% of men were named Jesus. I'm not joking. They estimate 15 to 25% of men were named Jesus at the time. That means like every fourth or third person, every fourth or fifth person's name is Joe. That's a very common name. So they were saying, look, Jews were getting crucified all the time. There was plenty of guys named Jesus that were crucified. And it's not hard for us to believe that one of them got really popular because, he died and they loved him and they were really upset about it. So they wrote about it and they're obsessed over it. That's what the historians claiming is true. They say, oh, Jesus was crucified. That's a fact because look, everybody's saying it. That's what we call a bandwagon fallacy. Just because everybody's saying it doesn't prove it. Just because everybody is saying doesn't prove it. Now, it doesn't make it wrong either. Don't forget, it doesn't make it wrong either. And I'll tell you something, the Quran, people don't know this, but the Quran never explicitly says Jesus wasn't crucified. It explicitly says the Jews didn't crucify Jesus. Now, some Muslims, I don't have an interpretation, okay, so don't attack me here, but some Muslims believe that even Jesus was put on the cross. And usually we would dismiss this opinion real quick, but because Zakir Naik, one of the most respected scholars in the world, says that it's possible, if you read the Quran carefully, it's possible that even Jesus was put on the cross but not killed on the cross. So he says we have to come up with a new term. He came up with the term crucifixed, meaning you've only been crucified if you died on the cross, but you never died on the cross, you weren't crucified. So if I say I poisoned you, you had to die from the poison. The poison went in you, but you didn't die from it, then I didn't officially poison you. I have to give you another name. That's what Zakir Naik. Now, most Muslims are going to completely disagree with this. It's Zakir Naik entertained it because he was saying, look, all the verses are like so, and all these possibilities can be. Now, the Quran says after People who say they know, they don't know. They're just guessing. So that's why my position is, okay, I don't think anybody knows. Was he never put on the cross? Was he just put on the cross and survived it? There's other interpretations that I won't even dabble in because people are going to freak out. But the Quran doesn't explicitly say the Romans nor the Jews crucified him. It just explicitly says the Jews didn't crucify him. That was made to appear so, meaning the Gospels are framing the Jews for being the bad guys of history. They're trying to put the blame on them, etc. The Romans want to put the blame on the Jews, or the authors of the Gospel want to put the blame on the Jews, etc. It's a very nuanced topic. I'm not an expert in it, but just because I've heard Zakir Naik give that opinion, I was quite surprised. But if he gives that opinion, I have to tell you guys, I highly respect the man. He's a great thinker. He's super intelligent. He knows a lot more about this topic than I do. So for me, I would let you guys research what he says about it, and I'm not an expert. Is greatness worth chasing if it means becoming a stranger to yourself? How much of a sacrifice is enough before it turns into a destructive cycle of self-annihilation? That's from Henry Jones. Well, you know what? The thing is, if you put too much time in your career, you lose touch with your friends, your family, your children, your other aspects of your life. And then you seriously, you can look back and say, wow, what was my whole point of my life? Like, was it just like fighting or like martial arts? Or I think you have to balance. And if you're going to balance your life to truly be happy and have a fully human experience, you're going to have to ease back on the greatness. You know, you're going to have to make that. Look, at the end of the day, we get so much of our success earlier in our lives. Why? That's before we're married, before we have kids, before we're tied down, before we have all these responsibilities. We have 24 hours in a day to make something of ourselves. It's a very precious time. Don't waste it. Because once you have the kids, once you have the routine, there's going to be some corners. You're going to have to cut corners. Either that or you're going to have to be a horrible father / husband / friend / family member / you're going to be a shitty member of society. You can say that about all the Abrahamic religions. Then the bandwagon fallacy applies to history as well. That's from Alex Leal. Well, look, Alex, that's a very interesting point, but that's why I love what the Quran says. The Quran says, look, you don't know what happened with Noah. We're telling you. You don't know what happened to Abraham. We're informing you. These things, what happened in the past, the miracle of Noah, it's not for me to prove. That was for the people of Noah. That's what that's why I appreciate what the Quran's position is. The Quran is telling me, I don't have to prove Adam and Eve. I don't have to prove the flood of Noah. In Christianity, it says if Jesus didn't die and wasn't resurrected, then your faith is in vain. Paul says that. If Jesus wasn't crucified, died, buried, and resurrected on the third, your faith is in vain. If this historical event didn't happen, your faith is in vain. He says it explicitly. That means that you'll have to believe in something that happened many years ago. We still can't prove what happened to JFK. We have the CIA, the FBI. We have video footage. We have reporters. We have thousands of people who witnessed it. We still don't know today which direction he was shot. One day we'll talk about the JFK. I love learning more about JFK. It's a crazy story. We're still not sure who shot the man from where. It's a crazy story. We have eyewitnesses. Sure, that's great. But we have camera footage. We have microphones. There were, reporters had microphones. We're trying to listen to the gunshot. Was there 2 gunshots? Was there 3? They have the greatest minds studying the footage and the evidence, and they still can't figure out what happened. But you want to tell me you know what happened 2,000 years ago? The Quran is a completely different approach. The Quran is saying, look, here's the thing, okay? All reasoning is circular. If you try to prove the Quran from the Quran, it's circular. If you try to prove the Bible from the Bible, it's circular. How do you know the Bible is true? The Bible told me. That's circular reasoning. You believe in the Bible? Yeah. How do you know it's true? The Bible told me. Well, if I gave you the Quran told you it's true, you believe that one then. If you grew up reading that one. It's circular. We need to corroborate. We need corroborating evidence. So that's why the whole Quran is about having a religious experience. Now, most people will never reach that because for them it's satisfying enough just knowing I have a holy book, I have a tradition, and that's fine. But for the people who want to know what's true, they need corroborating evidence. Now, that's why I love the Quran, because it tells me, look, you don't know what happened 2,000 years ago to the Christ. You don't know what happened to Noah. You weren't there when Abraham did this. We're telling you this story, and there are lessons for you to learn in this story. And yes, you believe it. But how do you know God exists? Because the Quran is about you learning about God. Now, you have the fitrah. And then you realize, oh, the fitrah is within, and it corroborates what I'm reading. Okay, then I understand this book is talking to me about something, about my natural religion. Because don't forget, in the Muslim tradition, we believe everybody's born Muslim. Islam existed before the mission of the Prophet ﷺ. The first human being was Muslim. Every single person was born Muslim, meaning they were born upon this natural religion. And then when they grew up, they changed it. Now they worship the sun, they worship God, they become atheists. They worship, a man, or they worship, the sky god, the Zeus, or whatever. They changed. They mix their religion with something else, something that they love, something that they admire, someone they want to please. They want to make this person happy, so they accept these beliefs. They think Caesar is God. They want to make Caesar happy. They tell, oh yeah, God is Caesar. Oh, Caesar is God. They want to suck up to Caesar. They want to make Caesar feel like he's special, so they say, oh, he's a god. So that's the perspective. You need corroborating evidence, and I don't want to blow your mind here, but it's not crazy to say that the corroborating evidence is a spiritual one. But it's religion. We're talking about religion. Of course, it's going to be a spiritual one. Coach, I'm finally getting my leg lock game together. I've been studying Ashigarami Made Easy, and I now bought Cross Ashi Volume 25. That's from Ricardo M. Ricardo, you will be a very dangerous man to deal with. I'm telling you, you're going to love Cross Ashi. I just released it today. Make sure to plug in the Level Up 50 off promo code. Do not miss out, because if I get a sad email of you boo-hooing that you didn't put it in, and I'm not answering, my guys are not answering anymore, please put in the code. And I highly appreciate the comment. Please leave a review on the product page. I'd highly appreciate that, Mr. Ricardo. People write me all the time, we love your video. Please, guys, leave it. I love to hear it, but please leave it on jujiclub.com. Go to the product page at the bottom. There's a review page. Please put in a review. If you enjoyed the video, let everybody know. I highly appreciate it. I put a lot of thought and effort into these videos. I try to give you guys the best price with the best product, world-class product. And I guarantee you, if you're doing Ashigarami Made Easy and you got Cross Ashi, you will be a killer. Did you watch History UN? I think I did. I can't remember. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I liked it. Oh yeah, I subscribed. I did subscribe. I have to go over his videos. I haven't checked out his videos yet, but I definitely will. Hold on, let me put one of these. Okay, yeah, no, I did. Slam Coach, did you do sparring with Thomas Ludursen and Baki in grappling? That's from Fauzi. Yes, of course. Killers. Baki's a killer, guys. Absolute killer. And yes, I did Thomas's seminar. He did it at the TriStar Gym. Absolutely, yeah. The great guys. Both of them killers. Great guys. Coach, some fun questions you always ask for. What would be your last meal on death row? That's from True Red. Steak and potatoes. But you know what? I would steak, potatoes, and a cheesy garlic bread. cheesy garlic bread, steak, potatoes. I think that'll be the last one. Good morning from Sweden. Amo Firas. That's from Danilo. How are you? I shaved my beard and I regret it so much. That's from WFX. WFX, how dare you shave your beard? How dare you? I want you to give me 10 push-ups right now. I want you to burn in your memory. Never shave the beard. I don't care what medical or super, if you have a rash on your skin, you say you have to shave your beard. No, hell no. No shaving the beard ever. Never. 10 push-ups now. Chef Russ, when are we having a barbecue vid? That's from Insomnia. I haven't barbecued, guys, in a long time. I haven't barbecued in a very long time. I've been traveling, too busy, guys. I haven't had a chance. I'm very, very sorry about that. Marhaba, coach. What is your record in MMA? I never went pro. I was an amateur only. Have you ever had fries made in beef tallow? Yes, I have. It's incredible. That's from Alex Neal. Alex Neal, he knows what's up about fries. Coach Firas, I'm from Morocco. I wish I could have seen you back when you were in Rabat. That's from Moab. Inshallah, next time. I'll be there soon, I'm sure. Coach, I was thinking a different kind of isometrics. Search for the Bioneer Overcoming Isometric. He explains it very well. Bioneer. I can't go into a search now, my man. Sorry about that. Okay, guys, I'm going to be ending this very shortly. It is 12:43 a.m. You guys should be in bed. I don't know what you guys are doing up so late. Should I go participate in the Montreal Fight League during my lunch break? That's from Charles Biddle. Charles Biddle, man, you're a badass. You just get up, skip lunch, and just go fight in an MMA league. That's incredible. Go for it. The Bioneer is a great YouTube channel. All right, guys, I'm going to check it out. The Bioneer. Don't disappoint me. The Bioneer. Okay, let's see. All right, I'm going to subscribe, guys. 864,000. Wow. The Bioneer, guys. Check out the Bioneer. Kettlebell Halos, YouTube Fitness. Not all gains are visible. Breaking your limits. Yeah, it looks like a cool channel. I'll look it up. Looks like a cool channel. All right, what else we got here? No matter what a man says, what he does, in the end, what he intended to do all along, customata. No matter what a man says, what he does, in the end, it's what he intended to do all along. Customata. Understood determinism. No matter what a man says, what he does, in the end, is what he intended to do all along. I don't get it, man. I don't know if that was determinism. Salam, coach. Do you recommend strong and stable neck for pinched nerve in the neck? That's Shukran Habibi. That's from the Oracle. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. Coach, could GSP beat John Jones? Question mark. Guys, I've seen them spar in the practice room, but my lips are sealed. I can't tell you secret information in the practice room. But nice try. Alex Leal says, GSP said if he was still fighting, he'd do animal-based diet with fruit. What are your thoughts on this? That's from Alex Leal. He'd have to experiment with it, but you could carb up on fruits. Because here's the thing. Look, I tried that. Fruits and proteins, and I got fat. So I got muscular but fat. Like I put on muscle, but I got fat also. George doesn't get fat. That's the thing. It might work for him because his body doesn't put on fat. So fruit, you can carb up with fruit, but you got to eat a lot of fruit, and there's a sucralose in there that can turn to fat. But I don't know if it will make George fat. I just don't think it would work for the majority of the population. Try it, guys. I tried it. I tried it for like 3 months, and I got fat, man. I got to a 36-inch, and I never get to a 36-inch waist. I was like, oh my God, my belly's sticking out, man. I have to stop. I have to switch the diet. Hey, coach, you missed my super chat. I have a kink in my spine from 10 years of BJJ. Do you have a rehab ideas? I go chiro and physio, but not getting any change. It's been 2 years. That's from Eric. Eric, get strong and stable back, man. I have the best back system in the world. Get strong and stable back for life. It's on jujiclub.com. Go pick it up. Do Alexander technique and work Alexander Plus technique and follow that video. It will fix your back. I promise you. Forget the chiro. Forget him. That's just a membership. Okay, guys, I'm ending it on a fun one, guys. No more super chats, please. Let's now end this on a fun one. It's gonna be the last one. The next guy to make me chuckle. Next person to make me chuckle. I'm up late trying to find God. That's from Tuxedo Mask. No matter what a man says, what he does. Okay, that one I did. Okay, did I miss any other ones? No, I got them all. Beautiful. How do you... Channel activity, go to channel. You know what's cool is like they have a way of putting the super chat on screen, and I don't know how to do that. Goodness gracious, how do I do that? Remove. I saw like when I was on another channel, they were putting the super chats like right under my, like right here on the screen, right in front of you. It doesn't work for me though. Coach Zahabi, blessings on you and your fam. You are an incredible human being. That's from Baby Lamore. Wow, thank you very much. You're going to make me blush. Jazakallahu khair. That's very sweet of you. Merci beaucoup. Very funny, Tuxedo. Very, very funny. That's via StreamYards. What do you use to stream? OBS? Yeah, I use OBS. That's correct. How did you know that? You button pushers. You know a lot, huh? You button pushers. Men chuckle, women giggle. Am I giggling or chuckling? I can't tell the difference. What do you think about kids and screen time? How old do you let your kids watch TV, etc.? I let them watch as much as they want, Spark. But as long as they did what they have to do. Then after that, I let them have recreation time as much as they want. Coach, you need a strong and stable admin. This is very true. Coach, would you ever move away from Canada? If so, where? That's from Tony R. Well, I really liked Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Morocco. All great places. Mike Tyson in his prime could beat John Jones. Well, in a boxing match, definitely. Coach, how would GSP beat Poatan at 185? That's from Smoke TJ. Well, he'd move around quite a bit and then take him down. And I'll tell you something, he will take him down. GSP will get Poatan down to the ground. I have no doubts. Can you speak Arabic? That's from O. My Arabic's rusty. It's not so great. Okay, guys, come on. One last one. Coach, you cut your toenails outside to prevent them from getting in the carpet? What? Larry Bird, you're a strange man. Coach Whitaker said Drake is throwing punches at you like you stole something from him. He's totally off technique, but with some most successful punches. What do you think? Thank you. I don't think he's off technique. I think he found a way of doing things that's different. And he's not the first guy to do that. So it's a technique that works for certain people. Is TriStar Montreal accepting students? That's from Dylan, of course. Coach, you know Brendan Schaub? Yes, I know Brendan Schaub. Mr. Tony, I know Brendan Schaub for many, many years. I worked with him back in the day when he was still fighting. Great guy. I've been in the practice room with him a few times. He's been to Montreal as well. And now I believe he's podcasting now. Coach, where did you got the word preposterous? from GSP, or did he get it from you? I don't know. I think I don't know. I don't use the word preposterous very often. He must have got it from, I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, guys, one last fun one. Coach, I'm visiting Montreal. What's the best shawarma place? Well, we have a very popular chain called Amir, and there's another one really new but also very, very good called Shawarmas, which is really amazing. Shawarmas. Do you like dinosaurs like GSP? Okay, guys, I'm gonna end it on this one. The man from Nepal hit the nail on the head. Guys, GSP is obsessed with dinosaurs, man. Every time I sit with him, if anything comes up remotely having to do with dinosaurs, remotely, he's gonna talk to me about the latest thing he read. I'm fascinated by dinosaurs. I do. I love history. I love human history, but he loves prehistoric history. He loves it. He loves, like, he's not interested in human beings, kingdoms, how long this person's reign was, these battles. He's not as interested, I would say. But him, it's all about the animals. He loves the animals, how they changed, how they took over the world, how they went extinct. Like, he knows everything, and he loves anthropology. He loves it. Egypt, this, that. He went to Lebanon to go see the giant stones. I haven't even been. He's telling me all about it. I love to see that he has a joy and an interest in something else other than fighting, because I think a lot of fighters don't have that balance. They don't have that extra joy, that extra something special. They can kick back, relax, decompress, and just be themselves. I think some fighters out there, they put so much on fighting that when it comes to fight night, if they don't make it, there's so much stress. Everything is riding on this 15-minute fight. And I think it's unhealthy because there's so much riding on it that it makes you, like, psychologically break. Even when they win, they're not happy. It didn't go perfectly well. They didn't get It's like, guys, there's more to life than fighting. Here's the thing. There's more to life than fighting. And it's very important to remember, because I think you have a lower quality of life if you don't remember it. Guys, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Like always, I'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you.